So it says, Mikeitz at the end of 2 years that Yosef was in prison. Paro cholem, Paro was dreaming. And he was standing on or near the Nile, the Nilus, the Nile, the Yor. Page 222, Austin.
Thank you.
And Paro was standing by the Yor. Now, the first thing that one of the commentaries, I think Rav Shach Zatzal, he said like this: sometimes in life people have things backwards. In other words, if you would ask somebody cause and effect over here, people would tell you, well, Paro had a dream, it needed interpretation, and therefore Yosef came out of prison. Right? That's not accurate. Yosef needed to come out of prison, and therefore Paro had a dream. Had it not been Paro's dream, but something else. Yosef needed to come out of prison, but therefore Paro had a dream. That's why Rav Shach said once, there's a kid, I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, a kid fell off of a roof somewhere, and or he fell off a fourth story, something or other. There was a Hatzalah guy there, picked him up, took him to the hospital. They did brain surgery. They did surgery, and the doctor said, had he gotten here 5 minutes later, he would have died. So everybody said, wow, it's a good thing the Hatzalah guy was there. So Rav Shach said, you've got the picture incorrect. You got it all wrong. So Rav Shach said, people said, well, it's a good thing the Hatzalah guy was there. So Rav Shach said, you got it wrong. It's not that it's a good thing the Hatzalah guy, therefore the kid's life was saved. He said the kid's life was going to be saved anyway. Had the Hatzalah guy not been there, so he would have fallen 3 blocks closer to the hospital where somebody else was there. So it's always difficult in life to know what's the cause and what's the effect. It doesn't. Sometimes things are a little bit. So here, Paro has a dream. So when Pharaoh has a dream, he had a dream, so Yosef got out of prison. No, that's not correct. Yosef had a 2-year prison sentence from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God said 2 years in prison. After 2 years, you got to come out. Okay, so how are we going to get you out? All right, so we'll give Pharaoh a dream. Okay, now take a look at Pharaoh's dream. It's in the second pasuk from the top. 7 good gesund cows. They go grazing, which is a great life, by the way. Being a cow is great. Till they get hold of you to shecht, everything is good. Another 7 cows come up. Ro'os mar evedakos basar, just emaciated looking. They stood by the healthy cows. The undesirable cows swallow, they eat the 7 healthy cows, and Paro wakes up. Vayikatz Paro, he wakes up. Now the word Vayikatz, there are different ways to work it. By Avram Avinu says Vayashkem Avram Baboker. Vayashkem Avram Baboker, and the word Vayashkem is from the Hebrew word Shchem, which is your shoulder. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing off your pillow, if you ever get off the pillow, is your head. Obviously, you got to move your head, but the head is really not attached to us yet when we wake up. So it's really the first thing off your pillow is your shoulder. The shoulder gets off the vayikatz, comes from the Hebrew word to sting. You ever wake up with a start in the middle of the night? You woke up with a start. That's not a vayashkim. That's a vayikatz. He wakes up with a start in the middle of the night, and he's had this disturbing dream that he's seen 7 cows swallowing up the other 7 cows. Now, let's see the second dream. I'm not going to read the words inside. Paro goes back to sleep, and then he has a dream that there are 7 healthy stalks of wheat, and then there are 7 thin stalks of wheat, and they swallow them up. Okay? Now, Paro is rattled. Paro is very rattled. Now, take a look at Pasuk Ches. Take a look at Pasuk Ches. It's 6 lines from the bottom. Vayikatz Paro v'nechal, and Paro wakes up, and behold, it's a dream. And then Vayehiva Boker, it's in the morning, Vatipa'em Rucho. His spirit, now I don't know how the Art Scroll translates it. Agitated. Okay, that's the best word you're going to do in English for Vatipa'em. The word Vatipa'em comes from the word Pa'amon, which is a bell. It's rattling around. There's that thing in the bell. So Vatipa'em, he's rattling. It's when the best word in it, you're rattled. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're just rattled. And Paro is rattled. So what does he do? Vayishlach vayikras kol chartumim Mitzrayim. He calls all the wise men of Egypt. There's kol chachameh, and the wise men, the chartumim. Actually, the word is interesting. The word chartumim is very interesting because the root of the word chartumim is ches resh tes, choret, charat. You know what charat means? To carve, to engrave. Who were in Egyptian? If you know anything about Egyptian history, what did they do? And the hieroglyphics, right? Those guys, they kind of look like, they always look like that, they're always looking, with the head of a dog or something, they're always, all those weird, with those hieroglyphics are very sophisticated. So the word Khartoumim, according to Rav Hirsch, refers to the hieroglyphics readers. Apparently they were the more intelligent people, and the wise men. Vayisaper lahem Paro es chalom, he tells them his dream. Ve'ein poser osam leParo, there's nobody to interpret them to Paro. There's nobody to interpret them to Paro. Now, Rashi points out right away, what do you mean there's nobody to interpret them to Paro? It should have just said there was nobody to interpret them. Why does it say there was no one to interpret them to Paro? Why does he add in that extra word to Paro? So take a look what Rashi says on the left column, 2 lines from the bottom. Ve'ein poser, it's the left column, page 222, second line from the bottom. Ve'ein poser osam leParo. There's nobody to interpret them to Paro. So Rashi says, Potrin hayu osam, they did interpret them. Avalo leParo, but not to Paro. They're not to his satisfaction. Shelo haya kolon nichnas be'ozdav. Their voice didn't go in. In other words, it wasn't satisfied with what they said. Sometimes in life, you hear something from somebody, it just doesn't ring true. How's he supposed to know? They're interpreting the dream. He doesn't know. If he knew it wasn't true, so he'd be able to interpret it on. Sometimes I don't know, but I know that that's not it. I know. Sometimes you go to the doctor. The doctor says, well, I think that's the problem. I know that's not the problem. I'm telling you, I know that's not the problem. The doctor says, well, I got a pain in my elbow. And the doctor says, I think it's a virus. No, it's not a virus. I know it's not a virus. Whatever else is not a virus. Considering yesterday I was playing baseball and throwing a ball 80 miles an hour, which I haven't done in years, and suddenly I got pain in my elbow, and I know it's not a virus, and I have not thrown a ball 80 miles an hour ever in my life, but certainly not, that's no virus that got into the muscle, that's for sure. I just want to know what's torn. That's what I'm asking the doctor. Don't tell me it's a virus. So he says, he was not satisfied with their interpretation. Why not? Now listen to what they said. Shehayu omrim, they said, you know what that symbolizes excellently? Sheva banos ata molid, you're going to have 7 daughters. Sheva banos ata kover, you're going to bury 7 daughters. You're going to have 7 daughters, you're going to bury them. Which in life is usually if you have 7 daughters, they bury you, first of all. Second of all, then the Medrash says there was a second interpretation they gave. They said you're going to conquer 7 countries, you're going to conquer 7 countries, they're going to rebel against you. Okay? Now, I'm enchanted over here by one thing. What does Yosef come along and do? What did Yosef come along and do?
Solution.
What's his solution?
To store the grain properly, put them into the city.
It's going to be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Okay? Now, considering cows are protein and grain is grain, which are the most basic food staples, if I would have told you the dream and given you multiple choice, the dream represents 7 daughters, 7 countries, or 7 years of famine. Which one? What do you think you would have chosen over here? Right? I mean, at least 33%, probably more. That's probably the most logical. Not only that, let's go back last week's parsha where he interprets the dreams for the butler. So he says, well, I see 7 vines, and I'm squeezing them into a cup, and I'm putting them in Paro's hand. And Yosef says the interpretation is you're going to squeeze wine, and you're going to in 3 days, and you're going to put it in Paro's hand, right? You're going to put the cup right there. Now there's something over here. I don't hear this lax ingenuity over here. What's going on? So I think I didn't see any commentaries. I think that the real miracle here is not that what he saw as much as what they didn't see. That means sometimes in life a person is blinded. The miracle is nobody else sees it. What, nobody else sees it? We're going through that today. But the whole world doesn't see what's going on in Israel. People are getting mowed down all over the world. There's in a country in the world where people aren't getting killed in droves right now. But in Israel, if somebody on the settlement builds on a balcony, the whole world is up in arms. If one Palestinian with a knife is shot, as he should be, the whole world is up in arms. In the meantime, people are slaughtering each other all over. In Syria, I've lost track years ago. I don't know who's against who in Syria. The Russians just went into Syria last night. The Russians just leveled a couple of towns in Syria. I mean, can you imagine Israel doing such a thing? The United States bombs a hospital. We got all sorts of. Israel goes and bombs something that they should. Here they had 14 Palestinians just this morning on the news report. 14 Palestinians were digging a tunnel between Gaza and Egypt. So the Egyptians flooded the tunnel with seawater. They said there are 14 Palestinians unaccounted for. I mean, I don't know where they think they are. You know, they flooded it with seawater. They didn't even waste good water on them. They flooded it with seawater. Can you imagine Israel? Can you imagine Israel doing such a thing in the tunnels where people are coming in? Well, what is the world blind? The answer is yes. Sometimes we're going to blind everybody. Yeah, either we're going to blind you, or we're going to make you a liar out of you, one way or the other. So a lot of this over here is just if you stop and think about it, it isn't off the charts. You know, the interpretation is not off the charts. Number one. Number two, I think it's the Besher Chochmah, one of the commentators points out, what was really bothering Pharaoh here? What's bothering Pharaoh about it? Now put yourself in Pharaoh's place and you have this dream. What's bothering you over here? What's really bothering you? So the Besher Chochmah says, very interesting, what do you dream about at night? Remember we spoke about, what does a person normally dream about? We dream about the things that we're thinking about most focused on during the day. Okay, sometimes we have worries and concerns, but what we think about, what we dream about at night, is generally what we're walking around during the day. Now, a king, especially a dictator in the ancient world, an emperor, who essentially owns the country, what do you think he is walking around all day thinking about? He's thinking about how a powerful person could dominate weaker people. That's what you're thinking about. And what is the dream? The dream is about the weaker dominating the more powerful. Pharaoh says, this is not something I've been thinking about. There's some more to this dream than normal. It's not my normal dream where I see myself, swallowing up the weaker people. There's got to be something to this dream. Get the interpreters. The interpreters come in, now they got to earn their keep. So at least Pharaoh's dreams, he told them the dreams, and he told them the dreams and said, okay, here are my dreams, I'll interpret them. Now we find another incident like this later on in history, where King Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And Nebuchadnezzar wakes up in the morning, he calls in the interpreter, he says, interpret my dream. And they say to him, okay, Excellency, what was the dream? He says, I don't remember. Tell me the dream and tell me the interpretation. He only remembers that he had a dream. He doesn't even remember what the dream was. He says, tell me the dream and tell me the interpretation. And they don't even know the dream. And the Medrash says he started killing them. Because now you got to earn your keep, boys. I've given you, now is the moment of truth where you're supposed to be earning your salary, and they couldn't do it. So here Yosef comes out of prison, and now we'll see. Now the butler speaks up, right? Now the butler finally speaks up. We'll have to figure out why. So in Pasuk Yud, it says like this. Pasuk Tes. Vayedaber Sar Hamashkim es Paralemor, the butler, the Sar Hamashkim, 3 lines from the bottom on 222. He speaks up and he says to Pharaoh the following: Eschatoi ani mazkirayom. I must mention my misdeeds today. See where that is? 2 lines from the bottom, page 222. Pharaoh cuts off Alavadav. Pharaoh got angry at his servants. Vayiten osi b'mishbar beisar atabachim osi v'sar ofi. Me and the baker were put into prison. We both had a dream. Each one with his interpretation. And then he says the following: Visham itanu na'ar ivri. There's a Hebrew adolescent there. Eved l'sarat habachim. He was a servant of the sarat habachim, the butcher. V'nesaper lo v'yiftar lo es chalamosedu ish kachalamoposar. So we told him, and he interpreted. Now the question becomes: why did he speak up at this point? Why does the Sar Hamashkim speak up? And the truth is, it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. He's got 2 very strong powerful motivations for speaking up.
Yeah. Why on earth would I remind him of my crime?
Why would I remind him of my crime? First of all, well, he wants to let him know why he was in prison. He tells him about, you put me in prison, and I happen to be there, and that's what I was doing there because you had put me there, right? Mm-hmm. Now, why does he speak up though? What do you think? What would motivate a person like him? Remember, in Egypt, to be a butler, you're a high official. You're a high official. This is a position where if you mess up, you get put in prison, and you could get a death sentence. Why would he speak up? There are 2 reasons, opposite each other, really opposite ends, but they go hand in hand. They often go hand in hand. Very good. That's the second answer. Very good. In other words, he understands he's caught right now. On the one hand, if I don't speak up, and Pharaoh finds out that there's a dream interpreter in prison, and he did interpret my dream. And if I don't speak up right now, and Pharaoh finds out about it, that's bad. And Pharaoh is not in good humor right now. So I got to, and possibly, if this works out well, then I'll get a promotion over here. Right now I'm just the main butler. Maybe I'll become the main bartender after this. There are all sorts of positions available in Egypt. So or money, who knows what'll be, but I'll be in good graces with the king, and therefore he sees it in his best interest to speak up. However, The Egyptians are he's still not happy. If I say the word adolescent to you, what does the word adolescent conjure up an image of? What does it mean, and what does it conjure up an image of? Adolescent means a teenager, right? What's the difference between saying a teenager and an adolescent? Adolescent has a negative ring to it. An adolescent means a teenager who's acting like a teenager. That's what an adolescent is. A teenager who's not acting like a teenager is a teenager. A teenager acting like a teenager is a creature undefined to man. We're not sure what it is. And a teenager is we say, oh, he's an adolescent. All right, an adolescent, they think of a kid sitting on a street corner smoking cigarettes, looking for something to do or somebody to bother. That's what they think of as an adolescent. So he calls him a nar. What's a nar? A nar is a youth. Nar is a youth, but it has a ring of adolescent. It's a pejorative. It has a ring of an adolescent. It comes from the Hebrew word linnaer. You know what linnaer is? Linnaer is to empty out, to empty it out. A nar, a young child, is empty. A young child is empty, which, being an adult, sometimes we feel that might be a blessing, considering what we've got inside us. But a nar means he's empty. He's trying to downplay it. I mean, he doesn't want Yosef getting too much credit over here. So he says, we have a nar over there. We have a nar who's an adolescent who interpreted my dream. So what does Pharaoh do? He says, and the way he interpreted it came out. So what does Pharaoh do? Pasuk Yudalid. Now, one of the most incredible meetings in history is about to take place. Pasuk Yudalid. Vayishlach Pharaoh vayikras Yosef. Pharaoh calls Yosef out. Vayiritzu min habor. They hurry him out of a pit. He's coming straight out of prison. Vayigalach, he shaves. Vayichalif simlosav, he changes his garments. Vayovel al Pharaoh. Yosef at this point is 30 years old. Yosef is 30 years old, fresh off of 12 years in prison. He has not had any sort of rehab training. He's coming out of an Egyptian pit. It's called a bor. It's called a pit. It wasn't like prison in America where they lock you up and you get 3 meals a day and you have cable. This was an Egyptian pit. And he's been there for 12 years. And he comes out of the pit. And now look at this. Look at this exchange. You have to be shocked by this. Vayomer Paro el Yosef. Paro says to Yosef, Chalom chalamti uposer ein oso. I had a dream, but there's nobody to interpret it. V'ani shamati alach lemar tishma chalom lifarzo. I heard about you. You can interpret dreams. Look at Yosef's response. Vayan Yosef as Paro lemar biladoy. It's not me. Elokim yanez shalom Paro. Hashem will reveal Paro's welfare here. Does anything about Yosef's response strike you? It should strike you a ton of bricks. Does anything about Yosef? What do you say, Jeff?
He just took him out of jail. Like, the first thing that would probably be on most people's mind is like, okay, let me just interpret this dream so I have something to like work on. He says, no, it's not even me.
Very good, very good. You know, Yosef's coming out of prison now. Your life is in the balance. Your liberty is in the balance. You got an emperor, a dictator who's standing across from you. And the first thing Yosef does, you know, normally you go to an emperor, you will be as agreeable as possible. Just be agreeable. What if he says black is white? Just say, yeah, you're right. I've always had trouble seeing black as black. Yeah, you're right. It's white. It's white. Yeah, just be as agreeable as possible. And the first thing out of Yosef's mouth in front of Pharaoh with everything on the line is he disagrees with him and gives him a musar shmuz. He's Jewish. He disagrees with him and gives him a little piece of money. He says, hey, I heard you interpret dreams. No, sorry, wrong. No, it's not me. You don't contradict emperors. You don't contradict when you go. Don't give him a lesson. How did Yosef do it? You know what the answer is? Who's Yosef's father? Yaakov. Yaakov's a man of truth. Yosef's been raised with one principle in life. The principle of life is truth. The principle of life is truth. Don't start. You don't gain from falsehood. You're not going to gain from falsehood. And in Yosef's case, it's not that you don't gain from it. It's almost impossible for him to tell the lie. You know, I'll tell you an amazing story. There was a guy comes to a yeshiva here in Israel. Yeshivas are always in the red, right? Even on the best of days, we're in the red. On bad days, we're in very, very red, right? So yeshiva's in the red. Guy comes to the yeshiva. He says to the Rosh Yeshiva, the yeshiva, actually my son's learned there now. He says to the Rosh Yeshiva, hi, I would like to donate $4 million to your yeshiva, which is, I could get used to that. He says, I'd like to donate $4 million to yeshiva on one condition, you have to promise me a portion in the world to come. So Rosh Hashanah says to him, I could promise you that you're doing a very big mitzvah. I don't know enough about everything else you've been doing in life, so I can't promise you the world to come. You know, there are other mitigating circumstances here, so I can't, but I can certainly promise you it's a very big mitzvah. It would be a very big merit for you. So the guy says, listen, I don't want any merits. I want to know I have a portion of the world to come. You promise me you get the money. You don't promise me you don't get the money. She says, listen, I'm telling you, it's a tremendous thing you're doing, but I cannot promise you. The guy asks him a third time. She says, I'm sorry, I can't promise you a portion of the world to come. So the guy says, okay, that's all I wanted to know. You see, I'm an agent of the court. There's a man who died, and he left in his will $4 million to your yeshiva. His children challenged the will and said that he promised the money to the yeshiva because the yeshiva promised him a portion in the world to come. I was sent by the court to test you. If you would have promised me a portion of the world to come, then you would have lost the money. You didn't, therefore the yeshiva gets the $4 million.
Wow.
Right? So you know, you don't gain. It doesn't mean every time you gain, you tell the truth. I've had students lie to me in the other yeshiva. Your guy's in trouble. So sometimes the other rabbis, they get upset because the kid lied. I never get upset when the kid lied. I would lie too. What are you going to gain? You're in trouble, buddy. You better lie. You know, and I'm impressed that you're such a good liar. Okay, now I caught your lie, so you're still in trouble. But you know, if I was you, I'd lie also. So that idea that you don't gain, certainly in the immediate, is not true. In the immediate, you gain, but often you do gain by lying. In the long run, you're not going to gain anything. You're not going to lose by telling the truth. In the long run, you're not going to gain by lying. So Yosef is standing in front of Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, "I heard you interpret dreams." Not me. I mean, sir, excellency, sorry. for accuracy's sake, it's not me, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? So then Pharaoh starts telling Yosef the dreams. Now the Medrash says that we're not going to go read through all the psukim. He describes the dreams and their various changes. Pharaoh throws in various detailed changes. The Medrash says that every time he threw a change at it, every time he veered off, Yosef said to him, no, that's not what you dreamt. You dreamt this. He's already telling what he dreamt. He's tapping into the actual dream itself, where he even says an interpretation. Well, he actually starts on top of the page. He says, okay, Pharaoh, it's all one dream, and God is telling you what he plans on doing. Now, Pharaoh is already happy about this. Pharaoh already, right off the bat, Yosef's off to a good start. Well, it's all one dream. God is telling you what he plans on doing. Now, Pharaoh's looking around. Did all you people hear that? Did all you people hear that? God's talking to me. Right? So he already likes this kid. You know, this is good. I like where this is going. You know, he said, okay. Then, right, he's already saying nothing like the emperor being told by an outsider that he's being communicated to with the Almighty. Then he says like this: there are going to be 7 years of plenty, then 7 years of famine, and all the plenty is going to be forgotten. It's going to be completely forgotten. And he says, and the reason that dream was repeated is because it's going to start imminently. Now take a look, pick it up on verse 33. Yosef has just interpreted the dream. Page 226, verse 33, it's 7 lines from the bottom. Yosef says, Ve'ata, and now, Yere Paro ish novon v'chacham, Paro, you ought to choose a wise man, Vishisehu al Eretz Mitzrayim. Put him in charge of the entire land. And then you'll organize the land, you'll organize officials, and they'll gather all. He starts giving Pharaoh a whole plan of how to organize Austin, what you said earlier, how we're going to save all the produce from the years of plenty. Now, anything bother you about that? He never asked for advice. Who made you the advisor? I asked you to interpret my dream. I have advisors here. I have a whole crew. Who asked you? Oh, well, Pharaoh, this is what the dream means. Now, what I think you ought to do is this, that, and the other. Well, who interpreted Yosef who asked Yosef to go giving advice right now? Question number one. Question number one. And question number two is that Yosef, when he's giving the advice, who do you think he has in mind? I mean, and who does Pharaoh understand he has in mind? Even if Yosef didn't have that in mind, who's Pharaoh? He says, listen, and I think you ought to choose a wise man, who's really, he'll get your land organized over here, who asked you, and even more than that, Yosef just came out of jail, didn't he? Yeah. He just came out of jail. And he came out of jail. Why was he in jail for 2 years? For making a little extra effort. Didn't you learn your lesson in 12 years? Now you're making an effort. Hey, Pharaoh, notice me, pick a wise man to run your land. You just got in trouble for it. You were there 12 years for that sort of thing. Why are you going now and it's obvious that that's the direction you're going in. So one of the commentaries points out, one of the commentaries says that it wasn't a suggestion as much as part of the interpretation. That's why the word, when Yosef starts giving this, again in verse 33, he starts with the word ve'ata, and now. And now. First word, and now, meaning now, the reason you've had the dream now, part of the interpretation is that you should take the necessary means of getting the land organized. Okay? And start hiring officials to run the land. Now, what Yosef is indicating here is this is standard with city government. I'm from Chicago, so I know corrupt city government. Chicago is actually number 2. Illinois is number 2 in the country. We've sunk to number 2 for corruption as a state. Our last 3 governors are in jail. The last 3 governors are in jail, which is pretty good. They don't have a minion yet, but the last 3 are in jail. But Illinois is number 2. You know which state is number 1 for corruption in the United States? No. I would imagine, yeah, but they're not caught. Yeah, which is number 1? Anybody know? What? No. Louisiana. New Orleans is there. What do you expect? No, man. Who?
Rhode Island.
No, man. Rhode Island. Is Rhode Island still part of the Union? I don't even know Rhode Island. What's a Rhode Island? Yeah, I'm talking about a real state. You got Louisiana. New Orleans is there, so you got to give them credit. New Orleans, but Chicago. We grew up in Chicago. Chicago was a private club. When Mayor Daley was. I grew up with the Tata. I grew up with the father. So Mayor Daley, when Richie, the one who became the mayor afterwards, so he opened up an insurance brokerage, and as soon as he opened up his insurance office, his father took all of the city's insurance accounts and promptly transferred them to his son, which is a good deal, right? He transferred his son. So the reporter said to him, this is back in the 70s. So the reporter said to him, "Well, sir, don't you see a conflict of interest here?" And so Daley, in his immortal words, he said, "A man can't help his son, what's he worth?" And that was it. No investigations. There was no, what do you call it? That was it. Everybody went home happy. Listen, a little bit of Hanukkah guilt, everybody went home happy. So in Egypt, there's rampant corruption. Yosef is saying, hey, you got to get this place organized. You got to get a guy on top over here. This is what the Meshech Chochmah says. You got to get a guy on top over here who's in touch with the people, in touch with what's going on. You can't be in charge, Pharaoh. You're too detached. You're too busy being king. You got to get a guy who's in charge, who's wise, who's got some perspective, and he's got foresight. You can't do it. You're not involved. When you're involved, there's rampant corruption. And so he gives him this whole interpretation, but that's part of the dream. That's part of it. Ve'atah. The reason you've had the dream now is that in heaven they're telling you to do something about it. That's one. The standard answer is that he's on a roll. He knows that it's like he says to Pharaoh, okay, you're going to have 7 years of plenty, yeah, and 7 years of famine, yeah, and then they're going to be swallowed up and they're going to, yeah. Well, so what I suggest, in other words, he's almost inviting him. You're on a roll. It's only natural. Keep on going, kid. You're doing well. Just keep on going. Okay? Now, but what about Yosef himself? Why did Yosef willing to go out on a limb and make this effort, where he got punished for 12 years for making effort? So I saw one of the ideas is like this. You see, he was in prison. He made effort. There's a flaw in your bitachon level, right? There's a flaw in your trust in God. Yosef has already established he's not flawed in that area. How did he establish it? Because the first thing out of his mouth when Pharaoh says to him, I hear you interpret it, Yosef says, it's not me, it's God. Oh, you're tapped in properly. Now you can make any effort you want. Because you know that you're not going to let that effort that you make, you're not going to think it's a result of your effort. Now you're on a roll. Now, okay, that's what. And so Yosef gives him the interpretation, and he tells Pharaoh he gives Pharaoh the whole piece of advice. Now I'll tell you something if we have time. Yeah, okay. One more point, which is also it's stunning. It's stunning. If you take a look in Pasuk Mem, Vayomer Pharaoh Yosef. Pharaoh says to Yosef, 228, 3 lines from the top. Since God has let you know all of this, there's nobody as wise as you. 30-year-old Hebrew. Nobody in the land as wise as you. Ata TL Basi, you're going to be in charge of my estate. Val Picha Yishak Kol Ami, my entire country is going to run on your word of mouth. Raka Kise Egdal Mimeka, only my throne will be able. You are the assistant, you are the viceroy of Egypt. I appoint you viceroy. Now look at the next pasuk. Vayomer Paro Yosef, Paro says to Yosef, hey, look, Nesati Yoscha Kol Eretz Yisrael, I've put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt. So I was always bothered, not always, I was bothered. Who was speaking in Pasuk Mem? Paro was speaking, right? Paro says, you're going to be in charge of my house. Then in Pasuk Mem Aleph, it says, Vayomer Paro Yosef Reina Sati Yoscha Kol Eretz Yisrael. Look, I've put you in charge of all the land of Egypt. So, first of all, why does he repeat it? And second of all, why does it say Vayomer Paro? Paro was talking.
Could be a break in time.
So it could be, but it doesn't sound like that based on the storyline over here. Why? Yeah, Paro was talking. He says, okay, you're going to be the viceroy of the country. Then it says, and Paro said to Yosef, look, I've put you in charge of all the land of Egypt. Why does he repeat it? Why does it introduce it again with Vayomer Paro? So the answer is what I heard from Ritzi Meyer Zilberberg. He said like this, imagine it was you. And the President of the United States had a bad dream and you interpreted it. And he says, hey, Mike, you're the new Vice President of the United States. Now that you're in charge, you're running the whole country. What do you think your reaction might be at that point?
Stunned. I'm not sure if you really heard it.
Not sure if you really heard it. What, right? What would you do? Would you just stand there? I would say, wow, really? Oh, golly. Seriously? You have kosher meals for me too in the White House? Something. Something. Not a word out of Yosef. Paro says, okay, you're going to be the viceroy of the country. And Yosef's looking at him. So the next passage is, Vayomer Paro Yosef, hey, look, I just put you over the whole Egypt. Say something, kid. Yosef doesn't react. No response. No response. Takes it in stride. You know why? That's the true sign of bitachon. You know what bitachon means? No. Bitachon means you don't get overly excited or overly upset. Whatever's happening is for the best. I was in a pit. Remember when he's in the pit, he comes over to those two guys in the pit. He says, hey, fellas, why do you look so depressed this morning? You look so glum this morning in an Egyptian prison. Why do you look so, hey, kid, you got a stairway to the stars? What are you in such a good mood about? Nobody likes a gum snapper in the morning. What are you in such a good mood about? What have you got in the pit? Can you imagine somebody coming to in the concentration camp? Somebody comes over to a couple inmates in the concentration camp and says, hey, what do you look so glum about? You're so glum about? What is there not to be glum about? Yosef says, same level-headed, same upbeat, same Yosef. Nothing moves him, nothing rattles him. Because at his level of bitachon, he understands he's got such trust in God. Whatever is happening is what's supposed to be happening, so what's the difference? So Paro says, okay, you're going to be the viceroy. Did you hear what I just told you? Kid, you're in charge of the entire land of Egypt. That's Yosef's level. That's the level of bitachon that a Yosef at Tzaddik is at. That's the lesson. Whatever's happening, deal with it. Okay? Don't get too excited about it. You see these people who win the lotteries. People win millions of dollars. Right? Their whole life goes to pieces. Everything that happens comes with, there are going to be consequences. Hey, great, this is wonderful right now. That's going to have consequences too. You're the CEO of the corporation, Josh. We're appointing you CEO. Really? Well, don't you understand CEOs have a higher level of ulcers? Don't you understand what goes with it? Okay, so I'll have to take it, I'll deal with it. But it's not going to be, oh, good, now I'm on Happy Street for the rest of my life. It doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't work that way. The only happiness in life, as far as I've heard, is Dunkin's Donuts. That's what I've heard. I had a guy told me he walked in Dunkin' Donuts, they had a kosher Dunkin' Donuts birthday. He said, this tastes like happiness. Right? That's the only happiness I've ever heard of in life. Other than that, it's all, you get into the job and then, I'll ride it. That's Yosef's level of bitachon. All right, we'll continue tomorrow.